Hey friends, welcome to today's video. Today is going to be the greatest day of your life. You know, as Zig Ziglar once said, motivation doesn't last, but then again, neither does showering. That's why both are recommended daily. Now, you know, for me, motivation and inspiration can come from anywhere, but one of my favorite sources is inspirational quotes. And there are several that have helped me stay on track throughout my business adventures and in my personal life. I want to share a few of them with you. You know, I hope the following sayings from some of the most successful people in history will have the same effect on you that they've had for me. Now, Coco Chanel once said, "Success is most often achieved by those who don't know that failure is inevitable." John Wooden said, "Things work out best for those who make the best of how things work out." Ernest Hemingway said, "Courage is grace under pressure." Jim Rohn said, "If you're not willing to risk the usual, you will have to settle for the ordinary." Albert Einstein said, "Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to stop questioning." Swami Vivekananda said, "Take up one idea, make that one idea your life. Think of it, dream of it, live on that idea. Let the brain, muscles, nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea, and just leave every other idea alone. This is the way to success." Ellen DeGeneres says, "Sometimes you can't see yourself clearly until you see yourself through the eyes of others." Walt Disney says, "All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them." Confucius says, "It does not matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop." Winston Churchill says, "Success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm." Warren Buffett says, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." And Viva Shah says, "Whenever you see a successful person, you only see the public glories, never the private sacrifices to reach them." Dr. Seuss says, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." And Denzel Washington says, "Success, I don't know what that word means. I'm happy. But success, that goes back to what in somebody's eyes success means. For me, success is inner peace. That's a good day for me." Mae West says, "You only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough." Chris Grosser says, "Opportunities don't happen, you create them." Christopher Reeve says, "Once you choose hope, anything is possible." Albert Einstein says, "Try not to become a person of success, but rather try to become a person of value." And Nelson Mandela says, "There is no easy walk to freedom anywhere, and many of us will have to pass through the valley of the shadow of death again and again before we reach the mountaintop of our desires." Charles Darwin says, "It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change." Helen Keller says, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart." And Eleanor Roosevelt says, "Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people." Mahatma Gandhi says, Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Frank Sinatra says, the best revenge is massive success. Walt Disney says, the difference between winning and losing is most often not quitting. Thomas Edison says, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And Malcolm Forbes says, when you cease to dream, you cease to live. And David Brinkley says, a successful man is one who can lay a firm foundation with the bricks others have thrown at him. And Jonathan Swift says, may you live every day of your life. Eleanor Roosevelt says, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And Oprah Winfrey says, failure is another stepping stone to greatness. Now, Henry Ford said, the whole secret to a successful life is to find out what is one's destiny to do and then do it. Jeff Bezos says, if you're not stubborn, you'll give up on experiments too soon. And if you're not flexible, you'll pound your head against the wall and you won't see a different solution to a problem you're trying to solve. Winston Churchill says, if you're going through hell, keep going. And Coco Chanel says, in order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different. Oscar Wilde says, what seems to us as bitter trials are often blessings in disguise. Wayne Gretzky says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And Bruce Fierstein says, the distance between insanity and genius is measured only by success. Dolly Parton says, the way I see it, if you want the rainbow, you gotta put up with the rain. I love that one. Richard Branson says, to me, business isn't about wearing suits or pleasing stockholders. It's about being true to yourself, your ideas, and focusing on the essentials. Now, Frank Lloyd Wright says, the longer I live, the more beautiful life becomes. And Nathaniel Hawthorne says, happiness is a butterfly, which when pursued is always beyond your grasp, but which, if you will sit down quietly, may alight upon you. Michael Jordan says, you must expect great things of yourself before you can do them. And Albert Einstein says, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And Katie Couric says, you can't please everyone, and you can't make everyone like you. Now, Ray Goforth says, there are two types of people who will tell you you cannot make a difference in this world. Those who are afraid to try, and those who are afraid you will succeed. Neil Armstrong says, I believe every human has a finite number of heartbeats, and I don't intend to waste any of mine. Arthur Ashe says, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Mary Kay Ash says, don't limit yourself. Many people limit themselves to what they think they can do. You can go as far as your mind lets you. What you believe, remember, you can achieve. And Kevin Kline says, people ask, what's the best role you've ever played? And I say, the next one. Mark Twain says, the two most important days in your life are the day when you are born and the day when you find out why. Thomas Jefferson says, I find that the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. Abraham Lincoln says, It often requires more courage to dare to do right than to fear to do wrong. And Robert Collier says, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Audrey Hepburn says, as you grow older, you will discover that you have two hands, one for helping yourself, the other for helping others. And Thomas J. Watson says, if you want to achieve excellence, you can get there today. As of this second, quit doing less than excellent work. John Quincy Adams says, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Michael J. Babak says, all progress takes place outside the comfort zone. Oprah Winfrey says, the more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate. And Philippos says, you may only succeed if you desire succeeding. You may only fail if you do not mind failing. Colin Powell says, a dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. Pablo Picasso says, only put off until tomorrow what you are willing to die having left undone. Mark Zuckerberg says, the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. In a world that's changing really quickly, the only strategy that is guaranteed to fail is not taking risks. Earl Nightingale said, we become what we think about most of the time, and that is the strangest secret. Eleanor Roosevelt says, do one thing every day that scares you. Vidal Sassoon says, the only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary. John D. Rockefeller says, don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. Steve Jobs says, your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. Drew Houston says, don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once. And Carl Bard says, though no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. And Mark Twain said, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. Helen Keller said, keep your face to the sunshine and you can never see the shadow. Mark Caine says, the first step towards success is taken when you refuse to be a captive of the environment in which you find yourself. Mother Teresa says, one of the greatest diseases is to be nobody to anybody. Jay-Z says, identity is a prison you can never escape, but the way to redeem your past is not to run from it, but to try to understand it and use it as a foundation to grow. Bruce Lee says, the successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. And Jimmy Spithill says, rarely have I seen a situation where doing less than the other guy is a good strategy. And Katharine Hepburn says, if you always do what interests you, at least one person is pleased. And Charles Kettering says, keep on going, and the chances are that you will stumble on something, perhaps when you are least expecting it. I never heard of anyone ever stumbling on something sitting down. And Charlotte Brandt says, I avoid looking forward or backward and try to keep looking upward. Steve Jobs says, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down, and it has made all the difference in my life. Kate Winslet says, life is short, and it is here to be lived. Pablo Picasso says, everything you can imagine is real. And Barack Obama says, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. And T. Harv Eker says, if you want to make a permanent change, stop focusing on the size of your problems and start focusing on the size of you. Jim Rohn says, successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And George Eliot says, it's never too late to be what you might have been. And Steve Wozniak says, if you love what you do and are willing to do what it takes, it's within your reach. And it'll be worth every minute you spend alone at night thinking and thinking about what it is you want to do, design, or build. Jane Smiley says, in my experience, there is only one motivation, and that is desire. No reasons or principle contain it or stand against it. Deepak Chopra says, in the midst of movement and chaos, keep stillness inside of you. And George Bernard Shaw said, success does not consist in never making mistakes, but in never making the same one a second time. And Diane Ackerman says, I don't want to get to the end of my life and find that I've lived just the length of it. I want to have lived the width of it as well. Bill Gates says, as we look ahead into the next century, leaders will be those who empower others. And Francis Chan says, our greatest fear should not be of failure, but of succeeding at the things in life that don't really matter. Oscar Wilde says, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Jim Rohn says, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. Ariana Huffington says, but you have to do what you dream of doing even while you're afraid. Mike Gafka says, to be successful, you must accept all challenges that come your way. You can't just accept the ones you like. Stephen Covey says, be patient with yourself. Self-growth is tender. It's holy ground. There's no greater investment. And Thomas Edison says, many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Friends, I'm never going to give up on you. I'm going to be back here tomorrow with some really great stuff. I hope these inspirational and motivational quotes do for you as they've done for me. They keep you walking down that path towards your goals so we can have better lives, more successful lives. Listen, I care about you. I think you are amazing, and I believe in you, and I know you can do it. You are so incredible. I cannot wait until tomorrow. We have some really great stuff we're going to talk about, and I'll see you then. Have a wonderful day, friends. Take care.